Hi, I'm Geoff Parker, Faculty Director of the Arthur L. Irving Institute for Energy and Society and Professor of Engineering Innovation at Dartmouth. Today, I'm joined by Dartmouth alumna Stina Brock, a clean energy entrepreneur and the CEO of Derapi, which was recently selected for Google's AI Energy Accelerator. This prestigious program represents a major step for the early stage startup. With Google's mentorship and resources, Derapi is poised to harness the power of AI to enhance the intelligence, scalability, and impact of distributed energy systems. So we're very fortunate to have Stina with us and to answer some questions. So let's start off. Stina, can you please share with us a bit about Derapi's mission and how being selected for Google's AI for Energy Accelerator aligns with your long-term goals of advancing clean energy integration into the electricity system?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. I'm so glad to be here and always grateful to have the opportunity to talk with you, and I'm glad to be a part of the advisory board for the Irving Institute. As CEO of Derapi, my goal is to help Derapi with our mission, which is to make it easier to connect all of the world's energy devices to the platforms that can access them to create value for the grid and to the owners, the homeowners or the customers, the business customers that own them. And so, what we are focused on doing is trying to make it easier and faster and more scalable to connect distributed energy resources like batteries or solar PV or EVs and EV chargers to platforms that provide grid flexibility or to platforms that gather data from these devices to support progress from a grid perspective. And really, the long-term goal here is to move us towards a sustainable grid so that we can incorporate more devices that might be intermittent, like solar and wind, but have huge benefits to the grid and our future energy transition.
That's a really exciting mission, Stina. So thank you for sharing that. And it's definitely one that, as you mentioned, you're one of the advisory board members of the Irving Institute, and the Irving Institute's mission is also to accelerate the transition to a low and no carbon energy economy. So, what are the most significant technical, regulatory, or operational challenges that you've faced when integrating distributed energy resources into the current grid?
Yes. And so I've been working in this space for about 20 years now, trying to incorporate distributed energy resources into the current grid. And today, what we see, we've certainly made progress over the last 20 years, but what we see is that less than 20% of the distributed energy resources out there are currently engaged in utility programs to provide grid flexibility or support the grid in some way. And then some very high percentage of utility battery virtual power plant programs or VPP programs have one battery type only typically. And the reason is because it is very difficult technically to integrate all of these different devices that are out there. And it's challenging from a business perspective to be able to establish the relationships to make these things happen. So Derapi is trying to solve both of these problems, and our participation with Google in this AI for Energy Accelerator program comes at a perfect time for Derapi. In the past year, we have increased the usage of our platform by about 500 times, and we have 3 or 4 times the number of connected devices currently connected to our platform. So what that means is that we now have the number of data points that we would need to really understand, what these devices are doing and what we can learn about their operation. And we also have enough customer usage to know what our customers are trying to achieve and how they're interacting with these devices to meet their goals. And so that is why it's the right time for us to be a part of this accelerator, because our plans have been to take advantage of the AI tools that are out there to start building in features that are AI powered to make it even easier and faster for our customers to be successful working with distributed energy resources. So now we have the chance to work not only with Google's leading AI tools, but also with their technical mentors to be able to ensure that we can quickly start to make these new features and products available to our customers.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And in some ways, you anticipated my question of sort of how Google AI for Energy Accelerator is going to help you address some of these. So the other point I want to make is that is incredible growth in terms of both the connected devices, but even more impressive, the activity level. Because, of course, you can sign users up, but if they're not using your system, then it's just an empty shell. And so you mentioned this wealth of data that you're now able to harness to train AI and to do something. So, with that as kind of background, how essential do you believe AI is in overcoming the hurdles of DER integration? And specifically, what AI-driven solutions are you developing, or do you hope to develop to make DERs, a more seamless part of the grid?
Yes, yeah, thank you. I think what we're hoping to see here is that AI will support uh, our all of our abilities to move a lot faster because we can, take some of the processes that, are very human oriented at this point and try to make them a lot faster. Things that are manual, we can now automate. And so Derapi's whole platform is very automated. And now with the ability to incorporate AI tools, I mean, in the far future, Geoff, so Derapi's platform is based on an API, which is a language that computers speak to each other. And so then the next step of this really is the concept of these agents, right, that AI makes possible. In the future, it will be agents talking to agents over our API between different platforms. And so the whole thing will be very automated. But this is what will make it fast and easy and hopefully a lot cheaper. Already today, distributed energy resources provide huge value to the grid because creating demand response programs and virtual power plant programs where you coordinate these resources to provide value to the grid is already faster and cheaper than installing like traditional resources. And now with AI tools and features incorporated, hopefully it will be even faster. That being said, today we are using a lot of tools ourselves to make our processes faster internally. And now we will be developing and launching these features so that our customers can take advantage of these tools to do things like identify anomalies that might be happening with these distributed energy resources out in the field. So, is a battery sending data back that is unusual or unexpected? Is a solar system not producing the amount of power or energy that you would expect? So we can automate the ability to detect those anomalies, and we can share that with our partners who are the manufacturers of these devices, and we can share it with our customers who are the ones working with the utilities and committing these resources to the grid. Um, we can also hopefully soon be able to, use these tools and predictive models to explain what the performance of these devices is going to be. So you could say, next Tuesday at 4 p.m., what could I expect from this fleet of batteries in terms of performance? And so that's what we're looking to hopefully launch soon within the AI accelerator and the program here. But one other note on this question. I recently was at a conference in the Bay Area, and somebody brought up the questions around, is this AI for energy or do we need energy for AI? So, in order for AI to be successful, as we know with all the data centers and the AI hyperscalers growing in this space, power is a huge issue. And so, not only are we creating, AI-based tools to support the development of DERs and have them be good grid participants. But in turn, that also helps AI because AI needs more power available, and these tools can help make it easier to incorporate these big power users of the AI data centers and things like that.
Yeah, I think that was a fantastic segue. And so, and just observation, and what I like was your discussion of really allowing external agents. In many ways, it's taking the platform ecosystem view and then bringing it into the world of agentic AI. And
Hmm.
so it's really exciting to hear that you're kind of on that frontier. And you've answered a bit of this, but let's just double click a little bit to how do you see the accelerator program itself enhancing your ability to contribute to this kind of broader sustainable energy and grid modernization kind of strategy and objective?
Yes. So I thought that, joining this accelerator would give us access to the Google tools, which are really some of the best in the world for AI development. And that has been the case. But I was surprised that we've actually also really benefited from AI's mentor or Google's mentorship on the business side. And so we've been able to talk to folks internally at Google about what their strategy is for rolling out VPPs, these virtual power plants, along with data centers to try to support utilities and the grid in the regions where they're putting these data centers. So they're thinking through on their end, like many of the other hyperscalers are, how they can be good citizens to the grid and how they can help bring power to the data centers that they're deploying. And so we've had the opportunity to learn about that, which Derapi can certainly contribute to. And then we've also had the opportunity to talk to Google's experts on go-to-market strategies. Derapi's platform is a SaaS platform, and our go-to-market is a SaaS subscription. And Google knows a lot about how you sell to enterprises and how you should do pricing and what works for companies like them. And so that's actually been extremely helpful as well. And then the third thing about the accelerator that's been great is that we're in a cohort with 15 companies. And many of these energy companies could be customers or partners of Derapi's. And so we're learning a lot from what they're doing as startups in this space, but also have forged connections that will be, I think, useful for all of us going forward from a business perspective.
Oh, that must be great fun. I mean, that's got to be a real treat to be part of. So I'll conclude with kind of a high level question. And if you think about sort of this transition that you're contributing to, if distributed energy resources were fully leveraged across the U.S. and ultimately across the globe, you know, imagine what impact that would have on energy reliability, affordability, and environmental sustainability, and just sort of paint a picture of sort of the high level vision.
Yes, so I believe that we absolutely need decentralized and distributed energy to be a part of our future grid, especially given the constraints that we're facing from a power perspective going forward, prices rising for consumers. We have to have all tools available to try to mitigate that negative impact on folks. And distributed energy resources are much faster to deploy. Already today, there's 50 million distributed energy resources at residential customer homes. So just taking advantage of those devices that are already there to provide peak resources and grid flexibility it can happen in a matter of months as opposed to many years if you're trying to deploy new power supply or new generating resources. And if we're able to take advantage of these distributed energy resources that are already there and being deployed to the grid in the next 5 years, it could save 10 to $15 billion per year if the utilities and the grid operators are able to use those resources instead of having to choose more expensive alternatives that take longer timeframes. And that was an assessment that the DOE did a year or two ago, looking at the opportunity within the virtual power plants. And I think from an AI perspective, the tools that we're building today can help make that faster and help allow utilities to better count on these resources as solid, firm, opportunities for them. So Derapi is not only trying to use AI to make our product better, but also Derapi's goal is to make it easier to connect to distributed energy resources to get access to data. And data is really the foundation for everybody's AI. And so unlocking the silos and making this data more accessible is part of our goal here as well, so that everybody can do the best that they can to create these new AI-powered tools for the grid, using data that Derapi makes available, as well as the tools that we're hoping to build out and provide for our customers.
Well, Stina, that is a tremendous vision. And I'm so looking forward to hearing about how this goes and to watching your progress. And I just want to thank you so much for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you, Geoff.